Welcome to Backstage. Your host is Richard Gossett with his special guest from Bill Graham Presents, Jerry Pompili, no stranger to Backstage himself.
Good evening and welcome to Backstage. I'm Richard Gossett. I haven't spent that much time backstage, but I've spent enough back here and seen this gentleman backstage enough. Jerry Pompili, welcome to Backstage.
It's a pleasure to be here, Richard. Thank you for having me.
You've been, well, I've been hanging out at stages in San Francisco since about 1970, off and on.
Ah, I beat you by a year.
I was going to say, I've seen you there as much as I've been there, and I know you worked backstage and you worked with Bill Graham for all those years. So you've probably seen as many concerts as anybody.
Just about, just about. Going back to a few years in New York at the Fillmore East, I've seen as many concerts as any living you, that's for sure.
Does it ever get to the point with you when you just say, I want to stop this, I want to get away from it, I have to get away from it?
Yes, several times it said that. Once in 1971 and once again about 2.5 years ago. I left for a year and a half.
I realize, I think you've just recently gotten back into working more actively, is that correct?
Yeah, just this past October I came back to the company.
Was there a feeling when you got away from it that that you maybe never wanted to get back into it, that you would try to find some other way to make a living and enjoy yourself as well, because you obviously enjoy doing it. It's not like you were doing it because it was work.
Well, it's not only do you enjoy doing it, but once you get into the music business, it's hard to do anything else because of the excitement factor. You know, you become like an excitement junkie. Right. You know, it's hard to go out there and work in the financial world, though I'm sure it has its exciting moments, and especially these days, or in any other type of business, when that rush that you get, you know, when the lights go down and the curtain comes up and boom, you're on, it's 8 o'clock and the band hits the stage. There's nothing like that.
Well, you know, when you begin, you do it for free almost. You're happy to be in the business, having been a disc jockey.
That's what I tell everyone that comes to work for me.
I used to, I'd say, God, I'm getting paid to do this, to play records on the radio, and then later on, after you've done it for a while, you become a professional, and you become a good professional, then you want money, you want more money, and then the climb begins. But there is a point, and you can never get back to that, where you can't believe you're getting paid for doing something like that.
That's true.
That's rare.
I got into the business completely by accident. I mean, a friend of mine was doing some shows in New York. I owed him some money, and he brought me in as an usher security guy, you know, and in the first week I was helping him run the theater.
When was that, in the late 60s?
Early 1968 in New York at a place called the Anderson Yiddish Theater on 2nd Avenue in New York. This is before the Fillmore East opened up there.
God, I always thought you were a California kid, too.
No, I moved
With
out.
that accent? Come on. No, Jerry, but, okay, you started back east, but then did you come out here immediately because of what was going on musically in the Haight-Ashbury, or did you get hooked up with Bill Graham back east and then come out here?
I got hooked up with Bill back in May of 1968. And worked at the Fillmore East through the end of 1969, and then I felt I had done as much as I could do there. You know, I was a house manager there, and I wanted to leave, and he said, don't leave. He said, come to California, it's a whole different scene, so I came out here.
I remember seeing you on stage probably as much or more than Bill.
Oh, yeah.
In those early days. In fact, I bet more people, you were mistaken for Bill Graham by more people than anybody else, because you'd go up and introduce bands a lot. And here was this dark-haired guy who was, most of those people in the audience were so out of it anyway. They just see this dark-haired guy with kind of an East Coast accent going, all right, here comes so-and-so. And it must have been a great feeling, because those were great times.
Yeah, they did think I was Bill. There was a lot of misunderstandings about that. I mean, I got very tired of people coming up to me and going, hey, Billy, hey, you know. Once I even went out on stage, Bill said one night that he wanted to say something to the audience. He was at Winterland, and I went out and I said, I'm sure a lot of you believe that I am Bill Graham, but I'm not. I'm Jerry Pompili. Bill Graham is coming out right now. Please welcome Bill Graham. He walked out on stage and said, don't believe anything he says. I'm Jerry Pompili.
Oh, God. Well, of all those acts and shows and stuff, there must be a few, like working with the Rolling Stones, that are just, those experiences stand out. And I don't know whether they stand out for being great ones or for just being incredibly crazy.
Well, I think it's the ones that combine the work element with an element of having fun. You know, I always enjoyed working with the Stones. You know, we always had a lot of fun on the road with the Stones. You know, they were a great bunch of people to work with. And
fun, like partying and playing after the shows, or just just going out to dinner and the whole.
Not so much that. It's just the sense of family that takes part in it. combined with the fact that there, as far as I'm concerned, there's never been anyone on a stage like the Rolling Stones. I mean, they hit the stage and, you know, you forget everything. It's like, especially even in a stadium, you know, the person who's right in front of the stage, right back to the person at the last row at the top of the stadium, they're all moving together. They all become one. No other band I've ever seen do that.
Great shows at the Oakland Coliseum with those guys. Great shows with Tina Turner.
Yeah.
B.B. King. Yeah, there's been a lot of great ones. But one of the ones that strikes me as being one of the most bizarre is one that we showed on the credits of the show tonight, and it's the Sex Pistols concert, which was their last concert, and for a lot of reasons. But it definitely was an interesting show. Any thoughts about that? You were there. You were filming it.
We videotaped that for Warner Brothers, and I produced the tape because I was running the video systems there at Winterland at the time, and I actually directed the first 2 songs, I think, on the tape. My boredom threshold is not too good on video. You know, after a while, you know, especially with music, I just do so much, and I bring someone else in to finish it off. You know. Besides, they played the song I like best first, and I lost my interest.
Then you wanted to leave, probably.
Yeah, but I didn't really have too much to do with the Sex Pistols themselves that night. They weren't the kind of guys you could really get close to and say hi and let's have a beer. You know. Yeah. They were constantly like throwing up on people. And also
the audience was as much fun, or maybe even more fun than the group, because it was one of those kind of shows where, I mean, people come from everywhere, from the suburbs to go see that, and they dress to the nines, and yeah, that's half the fun, or sometimes more than half the fun.
There were people in that audience I hadn't seen in years, you know, that came out for that one. That was like
I love it. Those are those rare events. The Fillmore 20th anniversary, an incredible event.
I don't remember too much of it. I had just had an operation on my eyes.
That's right. You were walking around with a huge patch.
I had a patch on my eye, and I was taking some painkillers, and I don't remember too much of anything. You know, sex, drugs, rock and roll.
That last 20 years goes like that for a lot of people. It just flew right by. Jerry, what do you really do for Bill Graham?
Well,
as far as you work with concert promotion or production, basically.
I have in the past. I mean, I initially, when I first came out here in the 70s, I used to book all the special events outside the Fillmores. I couldn't handle the Fillmore West after the Fillmore East. I mean, it didn't have seats. People kind of roamed around freely. I wasn't used to that. You know, New York was a very controlled environment. So I started booking and running shows at Berkeley Community Theater.
You did all the outside things rather than the regular venues.
So I started doing all the outside things. And as time passed on and I got used to that kind of open, free-form format, the festival seating, I started running, helping run the Fillmore West, and eventually I was running Winterland through the 70s, booking and running it. And booking and running shows is a very burnout kind of job. And after a while, I just couldn't do it anymore, you know. It was like I didn't want to go to shows. I couldn't wait to get out of shows. And I moved into management. And now that I've come back, I spent about 4 or 5 years in management. And now that I've come back after my hiatus, how do you call it?
Yeah, that's good. Hiatus.
Hiatus. I'm now a vice president of operations, and I work in a lot of different intercompany things. You know, dealing with. I've been involved in every section of this company, and it's a very hot dog kind of company. Everyone's really aggressive. You know.
So now you're doing management, more or less, dealing between the departments rather than actually managing a show.
Right. I don't do shows anymore. I only go to shows. The last show I went to was when Ron Wood and Bo Diddley played at the Fillmore, and it was strictly because everyone else was out of town that had worked with the Stones. They were in Japan doing the Mick Jagger tour.
Well, it's great to see you. It's great to see you back at work. Yeah. Jerry, I know one show's coming up, and you're going to be going to that.
What?
And I think you ought to take all of us with you. Bruce Springsteen, huh? How about that?
No, I'm going to be on my honeymoon.
Okay, well, anyway, thanks for stopping by. It was a pleasure. I wish you all the best.
Okay.
And we'll have somebody else next week here on the program. I don't know who, but we'll pull someone off of a stage.
Okay, that's it. Anyway.